A California criminal is slithering his way out of jail.
Great haircut.
The bandit, known as the snake burglar, great mullet, because he crawled on his belly to avoid motion detectors, you can see it in the video, is now free after admitting to robbing dozens of businesses. And the prosecutor says he's out because of woke soft-on-crime policies, saying, quote, "It is unconscionable that a habitual offender can steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from hardworking people, admit to it, and legally serve less time in jail than the time it will take hundreds of his victims to recoup their losses." How about this for California crime craziness? The suspected carjackers behind a wild crash in San Francisco won't face charges. You see the car just going off the building because the DA says the case is, quote, "very complex and needs to be investigated further." Oh, in nearby Oakland, the NAACP wants a state of emergency declared over the crime crisis. Vice President Kamala Harris all talk about safety at the organization's convention this weekend. Listen.
I strongly believe it should be thought of as a civil right for all people to be safe, including safe from the people sworn to protect us. And we should think about how we work toward then safety in a way that we address it from all directions.
Okay, we're coming back to that. But first, let's talk about the snake burglar. This guy is admitted in court to 54 felonies and, according to the DA's website, could not be put to prison because of nonviolent nature of his crimes. So my mom, Sylvia, always told me, Griff, crime doesn't pay. But apparently it does pay quite well because there's no penalty. Let's start with you, Jimmy. What do you make of this?
Well, I'm not going to knock him for crawling, because if it wasn't for crawling, I couldn't have gotten around my hotel this morning. I had a rough night, as you know, Jenkins. Let's not knock the crawlers among us, because there is no Jimmy Fallon on this panel without the legal use of crawling. What's going on in San Francisco, it's a hard thing to watch as somebody who cared about that city, because it's a nice, aesthetically was a nice city, but it's let itself go. There's like this collective apathy that the elected leaders have just turned an indifference, not only towards crime, but even the homeless population. Although in San Francisco, you now have to call them free-range people. You can't say homeless. It's not PC. But
it's just so weird. It's like chickens. I mean, I would rather homeless sounds at least we're going to solve the problem.
I was kidding, Sarah. I was kidding. Don't worry about it. They're not there yet, but they'll get there. Trust me. Sarah's like, oh, what's up with this legislature? Come on, fella. You should have told me.
There's a liberal somewhere saying that's a great idea.
They're going to adapt the term. But it's sick. And when you hear Kamala Harris say something about, you know, we owe these people protection, you were one of the leading voices to defund the police. And if you heard that soundbite, she still worked it in. Mm-hmm. We not only have to protect them from the criminals, but the people sworn to protect us. The idea that we ever for 30 seconds tried framing the cops as a bigger threat to communities than the criminals is why we're in the position we are. Democrats don't want to own the behavior of the skyrocketing crime numbers because they caused it.
They're pro-criminal. We got to go to you, Tammy. You're a Californian.
Please.
And, you know, in fairness, Kamala Harris was the California Attorney General. Like, she knew the problem was getting worse. But now she's the vice president with this gobbledygook talk. I mean, we got everything except for a Venn diagram about how it's going to fix. But what is happening there?
Look, she didn't change. She's not a new person. She's exactly the same person. Nobody in California likes her. When she dropped out of the presidential race, she was like 8th. In line when it comes to the votes. Californians hated her. And they're still, you know, they recalled the DA in San Francisco. Californians are upset. I have to say, though, that the snake burglar, as I'd mentioned, because I couldn't stand it, deserves to be in jail just for the mullet. He does, just for the
All right, let's see it. His name's Christopher Michael Jackson. Get him up on the screen.
It's like he's walking through the street saying, arrest me for this. But also the car going over the thing, you know, the carjacking and going over the edge in the cliff, too complex, more investigation. Clearly, the White House was involved in teaching them exactly how to avoid an investigation, exactly what they said about the cocaine. It's too complex. There's too many people. We've got it. They're not even investigating. So if there's still going to be an investigation, this is throughout the entire system. It's the Democrats. It's policy. Regular grassroots Democrats have got to say, enough is enough. They've got to disown all of this.
Well, yeah, they do. And Sarah, look, the Democrats seem to have forgotten the victims. Here is one of snake burglar's victims. Listen.
What's going to stop him from escalating things, breaking into somebody's house and hurting somebody like my wife or my 11-year-old daughter? I asked flat out, who's responsible for this?
You have no doubt he'll be back at it again.
tomorrow is my guess.
And I've just learned he's headed to your house.
Thanks, Brett.
We're joking about it, but it's serious.
I'm glad I have my dogs at the house. They're my security system. The snake guy will not get around my labs. I'm going to tell you that right now. But the thing is, I was there. I was in San Francisco not too long ago, just maybe last month. And I was talking to people out on the streets, people who had been there for 40 years, people who had lived their lives in San Francisco. Many of them have left, as you know. There are so many people that have fled California. But you see businesses shutting down. You go on the streets and people are sleeping on the streets. I talked to people that were homeless, drug addicts on the streets that told me, look, everywhere I go, I can find fentanyl. I can go into a trash dump and I can find fentanyl. There's needles. I mean, when is it that people are going to wake up, just like Tammy said, and said, for once, Democrats, independents, Republicans, Green Party, whoever you are, you don't want your kids being raised in a city where it's so unsafe you can't walk 4 blocks. And I think that's the issue here, and that's the serious side of it.
Yep.
Now, the unserious side of it is the guy who's the snake burglar. I kept thinking, like, maybe he cut some deal with the CIA or something because he had some kind of special
to take
talent.
out the cat burglar, that's not fair. What happened to the cat burglar? So much for the cat's dead. Now it's like, all right, enough of that.
Crawling around.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.